telling you, on our honeymoon, Nick and I came up with an amazing TV show.
Really?
Like we wrote it. It's,
What's that one?
Oh, I can't tell you yet. It's just,
What happened on that honeymoon?
no, can't tell you that. But like, definitely can't tell you that.
Priyanka, let's talk about your amazing film. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
We were just talking. We're both veterans of the Toronto Film Festivals. It's one of our favorite places to be.
Yes, it is.
But this is a special piece of work for you. I know it has a lot of meaning for you. Talk to me about what it's like to bring The Sky is Pink to Toronto this year.
Well, I'm super excited about many things when it comes to this film. One, that it's my first Hindi film that I've also produced. So being just co-producer on a film that like a story that I really wanted to tell makes me really happy. The second thing is the only movie from Asia to be selected for the Toronto Film Festival for the gala, which again makes me really proud. And more than that, it's one of those movies. I've gone back to doing a Hindi film after like 3 years.
Right.
I haven't done one for for a while. So getting to speak the language, and that was really fun. But the most special, I think, is that this character and the story and every scene in the movie has really happened.
Right.
And I got the ability to sit with the woman that I'm playing, Aditi, and talk to her and understand I'm not a mother, but understand the grief of losing a child.
Right.
My director, Shonali, who is an epitome of she's an amazing filmmaker, female filmmaker, but she's incredible. And in her hands, she also lost a son, and she lost her son at 16. And her take on death is the celebration of life instead of the mourning of death.
Totally.
So, and that happened to me when I lost my dad. Me and my mom, we chose to celebrate his life, remember his laughter, tell the jokes instead of being sad about it. And that's what this movie is.
Well, it is. It was striking to me as I watched the film. I honestly didn't know much about this young woman who I know is important to many people, but it's narrated by her,
Yeah.
and it's, we know the sad outcome, but it doesn't start there. It is really a celebration right from the start, and has this real spirit to it.
Spirit to it.
Well, I didn't even mean it that way, but it does.
It is narrated by Aisha, who is already dead, and she's like a teenager. So
Right.
she, in her teenage ways, like, well, I'm already dead.
Yeah.
Or get over it.
Exactly.
Right at the bat. So you're like, oh, okay. So it's really cute.
So, who was this woman, and why was the story worth telling?
So Aisha Chaudhry, who was the young girl who had the disease called a severe combined immune deficiency,
Right.
which is when kids' immune systems don't develop when they're born. So like a common cold can be fatal. Like they have to be protected. She ended up living to 18. She ended up writing a book. Just her take on life and her take on her parents was so interesting that that her parents, after Aisha died, approached Shonali to make the movie and write the movie because she was their favorite filmmaker. And but what happens to a marriage
Yeah.
and a family when you lose a child? That's something Shonali dealt with personally. I was extremely curious about as a filmmaker and extremely curious as an actor to sort of understand the decisions the sacrifices that need to be made by the caretakers. What kind of toll does it take on them emotionally, physically, financially? And this story is just like an empathetic perspective
Right.
of that. And I was so intrigued by it that I was just like, it's a beautiful character piece for me, I thought.
Talk to me a little bit about, so you were mentioning this is the first Hindi language film you've done in a while, and it was, you've obviously in recent years done, television, some big Hollywood movies. Like, was it a conscious decision for you to kind of take a break from that and see what lay here, what opportunities lay in the States and in Hollywood, and was the intent to always kind of mix it up and go back?
The intent was to never have to choose between the two.
Yeah.
I think that they're not mutually exclusive,
Right.
and the world of entertainment is a very small place now, especially with streaming.
Yeah.
But generally, in itself. So I never intended on taking a break, but doing a TV show, which was like 11 months in a year, it was really hard for me to do a movie back home as well, even though I managed to get one out
Yeah.
3 years ago. But in between that, I ended up doing a lot more work here, but I was still producing movies back in India. But I knew that when I heard this story, I knew that this was the one I wanted to tell it with.
Yeah.
There was never an intention of having to choose, and I still don't want to. While I was filming this movie, I'm now doing 2 other features here in America for Netflix. So I'm like doing a little bit of both.
Well, it does feel like, we talk about Netflix, and there, it does seem like more than ever there is, thanks to streaming and other platforms, this interest in global cinema where the boundaries are gone. You look at Roma last year,
Yeah.
Parasites being talked about
Yeah.
this year. Does it feel to you now more than ever that there are less boundaries, that there is less of sort of like, I'm going to watch my country's movies, and there
Yeah.
is more of an openness?
I mean, there's of course the local charm, which every country will have domestically.
Yeah.
But I think that people are curious about cultures now, and that's a really beautiful thing to see.
Yeah.
I was always raised like that. My parents always taught me that, be curious about people.
Yeah.
Travel is the best teacher. And it's so amazing to see people travel through cinema. They, like, just us watching Roma and like watching movies that come from different countries gives you such an insight to what's happening in that world through storytelling, and that's the best form of filmmaking.
Yeah. So what do you consume? Like, what do you watch? Do you watch a little bit of everything?
I do. I was watching Queer Eye right now.
Okay. Nice.
But I'm really moody. I watch. Oh my gosh, what's the name of Olivia Wilde's movie?
Booksmart. Amazing,
Booksmart.
right? Yep.
Mind blowing. I watched it yesterday,
Yep.
and she's someone I've always admired as an actor and a friend. And like, I was just, first of all, the director's perspective from that movie. Just watched it yesterday, so it's super fresh in my brain.
Yeah.
But such a beautiful movie. So I'm very eclectic in my tastes of things that I want to watch. I've watched Aladdin recently.
Yep.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So I watch a little bit of everything.
Who have you exposed like Indian cinema to your husband and the family? Like,
Oh yeah. Well, Nick's seen The Sky Is Pink, and
Yeah.
he's not a crier, so so when he cries, it's a little like,
what's this? That's something in his eye, right?
and I'm looking at him like, "Are you crying?" And he's like, "No, you're crying." Like, it was so cute. So yes, and Nick's seen a few Hindi movies. The rest of the fam hasn't yet, but this, I guess, will be screened for them. They just came into my life last year, so
Right.
it'll take a second.
Yeah, baby steps.
It'll take just a
And
second.
has he exposed you to any culture that you prior to weren't into?
Yes, he has exposed me to the culture of sports.
Okay. How's that going?
Didn't know that very well. I knew just a little bit. Basketball was something I was always really fond of. But outside of that, like, I didn't know sport very much.
Yeah.
And now, because my husband's like a sports fanatic, we go to games all the time, and I'm starting to like get into it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we've definitely exposed each other to our cultures. Nick's culture is sport.
Fair enough. Is there like a Bollywood sensibility that is in any Hollywood cinema? Like, what is that? Like, how would you define that sensibility? That's
Well, good question. But Bollywood has turned into a genre
yes.
when it's not. The West has turned it into a genre.
Right.
Whereas Bollywood is an entire film industry on its own. So there's action movies, there's drama, like our movie is drama. We never break out into song and
Right.
dance.
And the shorthand for a lot of people when they think Bollywood is that.
Yes. I went to Whole Foods, and there was a flavor of popcorn called Bollywood flavored popcorn. It really made me think how an entire industry can be a flavor. It was probably chicken tikka masala or
Right.
something, but that's the stereotype. And I really, with the films that I try and do, I want to be able to explain that to people, that Bollywood's not one thing. So when you think like La La Land, that's not only Bollywood. Yes,
Exactly.
we do that too. And every industry has its own stereotypes. Like, if you think about Hollywood, we have so many superhero movies.
Yes.
I mean, Spider-Man gets made every 2 years.
With a different Spider-Man.
With a
often.
different Spider-Man.
Who's Spider-Man right now today, guys, by the way?
I can't keep up. So, I mean, every industry has its stereotypes, but that's my clarifications. Basically, Bollywood
fair
is a
enough.
genre.
And you produced this one you mentioned. So what,
Co-produced it with 2 of my oldest friends. We've done 6 movies together, Ronnie, Screwvala, and Siddharth Roy Kapur. And we've done over time many movies together. And it's the first one I'm co-producing with them.
so what's the mandate? Like, what is there like a certain kind of movie you want to make, or is it like whatever? Just
I like helming female stories a lot more because someone's got to do it, and I like being.
Raise your hand. I'll do it. Fine.
And I'm really happy that a lot more people are doing it. And
Yeah.
we're seeing so many female filmmakers coming in to the industry. So that excites me. But also as stories, I want to be able to tell cross-cultural stories. I like the cross-pollination of people. I find character pieces really interesting. A genre doesn't matter to me, but something that speaks to you. It could be funny. It could be like there's another movie that I'm developing right now with Mindy Kaling.
Yeah, I
for
want to hear about that.
Universal.
Yeah, it's like a wedding kind of thing. Yeah.
And that's like super funny, like a buddy comedy about just two people and best friends, but what happens when one of them comes to India? And it really came from my wedding. What happened when Nick's family arrived in India and their like perspective of everything Indian. And it was just so funny when Mindy and I were talking about what happens when Indian families meet and like little things that come from it. So the movie came from that.
So in the middle of the wedding, you're like, wait, I've got an idea, guys. Hold on a second.
It does happen. And creative people come up with creative things at the weirdest times.
Yeah, I'm very excited about that project. Well, both projects you just mentioned. You're also you're working with Robert Rodriguez.
Yes.
That sounds like a cool project. That guy always makes the coolest
I
films.
love him. I mean, I was always a fan of the work that he has done, but working with him now, and especially in this movie, it's a kid superhero movie. It's called We Are Heroes. It's for Netflix, but I play the kids' nemesis, which was so much fun. These 11 kids are so talented, so good. The 6-year-old, after I gave my first shot for the movie, the 6-year-old called Vivian comes up to me and she goes, "You were very good, Priyanka." I just felt like I achieved something in life. But it was so incredible working with him and seeing how good he is with children and adults alike.
Yeah.
So it was
And an
super fun.
innovator, just
Yeah,
like he
just-
does everything.
He sees everything differently. He works completely differently on his own lot. He sees everything. He's so creative.
And kind of in the superhero adjacent genre a little bit in that film. Is there like a superhero aspect to it or no?
Yes, there is a superhero aspect to it,
Okay.
but not with me.
Okay, so we still have to check that box for you.
Yes, we do.
Clearly.
We do have to check that box.
Is that? I mean, this comes up in conversation with every actor nowadays because it's like the most dominant
Of course,
kind
it
of
is.
genre right
we
now.
just talked about it. There are superheroes everywhere.
Literally.
That's the stereotype.
So does it, like, as just like an actor that wants to explore everything, is it something that's like, yeah, at some point I gotta?
I just want superpowers, man. Just someone. I don't care what character it is. Just someone give me superpowers.
Maybe we need to like nail it down though and like help them out by figuring out what the character
I'll
is.
be good at anything.
Wow.
I'll try. I'll work. I'll learn. I'll be any kind of superpower.
Right.
Telekinesis is great. Batman, awesome.
Right, because telekinesis, all you have to do is just stare intently,
Yeah,
and they do the
I
rest.
I can do a smolder. Like my smolder is great.
Let's see it.
Do you want?
Yeah, I'll take
Might
it.
have
Yeah, I'm ready.
flipped
I'm ready.
this.
I'm ready.
You're
Okay,
ready.
here we go. This is Priyanka Chopra's. Whoa.
Right.
Need a break, guys. That was intense. I thought it was going to take you 10 seconds to summon it, but it just.
No. I can just bring it on.
What are you thinking? What happens?
I channel a couple of people at that point. A couple of people that I know have a really amazing smolder. My husband does as a wedding.
What's his smolder look like?
Exactly what I just did.
Let me see one more time.
The Rock also has
Oh yes.
a smolder, but he has an eyebrow smolder. So, like, yeah, so you can see the smolder on a lot of people. Mine is a little bit more of a pout and just keep staring into someone till you reach their soul. I know.
Leave my soul alone, Priyanka. I need it for myself. The Art of Smoldering with Priyanka Chopra. This is the new series.
show.
I mean, I'd watch it. I think I just did.
Do it.
What's the learning from like I think I saw you on the crazy carpet in Miami for a Baywatch. That was a unique experience.
Yeah.
Working with Dwayne.
He's amazing.
What do you take out of an experience like that? Whether the film succeeded or whatever on any terms,
I mean, just working with such amazing people on such an iconic movie. It was great.
Yeah.
I grew up, watching Baywatch. Everyone did, but I made friends for life from it. Like whether it was the director, whether it was so many of the actors, DJ himself.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing to work with people like that and do fun stuff.
Who's closer with DJ now, Nick or you? You've both worked with him, obviously.
But Nick's doing Jumanji right now, so I would say I don't know. That's like what kind of comparison is that? We are one now.
Okay.
Apparently.
Okay. Well, having said that, and this is probably the most controversial question I'll ask you the entire
man.
conversation. How old is your husband, Priyanka?
Well, what is the date of the interview today?
We're September 7th. What are we? September 7th.
So in about just about a little bit more than a week, he turns 27.
Okay. So for the record, you know.
It's 2 weeks, you guys. Like, people make such a big deal out of such small shit.
I'm with you.
There's so much else going on in the world.
This is the most important thing
I'm
right
so
now.
important. Why am I so important? Especially for these kind of things.
Do you know do you know how old Kevin and Joe are?
I know how old they are. If you ask me when their specific birthdays, I actually don't know that too. We've become family. While speaking to you, I was like, oh.
So for the record, how old's Kevin?
32.
Oh no.
No, I got it wrong.
31.
31?
Yeah.
Listen, I always mix up my age a little bit.
Right.
It usually on the decline. I kind of stopped at 25. So I presume people want to as well.
Right.
Sorry, Kevin. I actually thought you were 30.
And by that logic,
my mistake.
By that logic, Joe's 16, right?
Joe's definitely stopped at 16.
Yeah, he's forever 16.
He's forever 16. Always will be. But he's 30.
Amazing. Forgive me if I don't know this. We were talking about female filmmakers. Like, have you directed? Like, because talking about all this, I mean, that must be an ambition, no?
It's a fear,
Yeah.
but an ambition at the same time. Like, I really want to direct, but I'm also really afraid of it. It takes so much to be a director. I have so much respect for every director I've worked with because you have to see everything. You have to know everything.
Yeah.
When you're on a set, you're literally the captain of it. And that's a lot of responsibility. And I want to do it at some point. I just don't know if I have the complete confidence in myself yet.
My sense from you is you're goal driven. Like
I
you
am.
right?
I'm very goal driven.
So what if I read the secret journals of Priyanka Chopra right now? I'm going to need those later, by the way. What are the top goals, at least professionally, right now, or whatever, just for fun too? Like, what do you want to accomplish in the near term?
I like to achieve goals which are short term.
Okay.
Because I feel like if your short term goals are excellent, your life's gonna be excellent anyway. Mm-hmm. So it's better than like having to worry about what's gonna happen 5 years later. So in the next 1 year, I definitely, I'm gonna finish these 2 movies that I'm doing this year, but I want to be able to find. I'm developing about 5 things. I want to be able to find like the right homes for them. I want to make sure that my book, which also I'm writing, which is so hard. I jinxed it by calling it unfinished. It's just unfinished.
But that'll make you finish it, like,
yeah.
because it's now
next
out
year,
there.
That's when it has to come out.
Yep.
So all of those things, I'm making like small time goals right now to be versatile in everything I do. Tech is something I'm really interested in at the moment.